Hey guys, live again, December 14th, 2017, coming at you live. And welcome if you never joined, Inspirational Nomad channel. That's the name of this YouTube channel. My name is Sam or Sammy, whatever you want to call me. I talk about a variety of issues, anywhere from living a nomadic life, living mobile. I live full time out of my car. I downsized my life dramatically about a year ago out of choice and talk about a variety of issues. It could be centered around that, living a simplistic, basic life. It could also talk about sex, politics, religion, whatever. The main thing that I lead the conversation is a healthy environment. So I have no problem with debate. I have no problem with different opinions, but I'm not going to allow contention or disrespect on a channel. I'll just block them because that's not a healthy environment. You can't grow like that. So different opinions help you grow. I'll say that. So it's nothing wrong with having a different opinion as long as you state it as an opinion, not as fact. Um, and we go from there. But overall, I feel good. I feel positive. Today's structured subject that I want to speak on is Social Security. Um, and specifically in the United States of America, I'm talking about. That's where I live. Um, And so we'll talk about the issue. I made a video about it earlier today because it's come up in the news. You know, like it always comes up every few years. It's always been a talking point, but it is a good conversation to have because there's different perspectives, et cetera, et cetera. So first, in my opinion, I will say I believe in Social Security. I think it's a good thing for society, period. Statistics show that 30 to 40% of people who are 65 and older depend on it for 90% of their income. So a third of retirees, people over the age 65, that's their bread and butter. So to take that away from someone who is, to either take that away from somebody or to not have that there for society when they get to that age is hurtful to society and it's harmful. Because when you are at a certain age, you start to lose your physical ability. You start to possibly also lose mental capacity. Doesn't mean you can't live till 90 and be strong as an ox. But I mean, come on, let's be honest. The average life expectancy is 78 years old. Some people live above average, some people live below average life expectancy. But you have to be realistic. As you get older, especially in your 60s and 70s, you're not able to do as much. And so, the different, you have limitations in the workforce. And certainly, you can only work for so long. There's exceptions, but I'm trying to say on average. Then you also have to consider that everyone is not you. I remember Oprah said one time, I agree with her. She said she was debating rapper Ludacris on not to use the N word in raps because she says it's hurtful to society. And Ludacris was like, I disagree. We use that word as a word of endearment. And Oprah said, well, I disagree with you. She goes, I want to share with you something someone told me once when I was starting to really get successful. She goes, never forget, everyone isn't you. Everyone isn't as smart as you. And that's not a prideful statement that you shouldn't take that as, you are or I am smarter than everybody else. But what you have to realize is some people can't help themselves. I've seen it in my own family, in my own life. Does that mean that they should live in a lap of luxury and people who bust their ass should suffer? No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is you have to provide a level of humanity, okay? And my overall mindset in life is, yes, you need to work. I preach that on this channel. I mean, I'm one of the only nomad channels that tell you should work until you can either sustain an alternate source of income, whether it be through starting your own business or investments, etc. I don't teach just, quit everything and hide. So please. But what I want to share with you is that you need that for a level of humanity in life. And people should have a level of dignity. What you don't want is people getting to that age and them not have a support system. Because then what you're going to have on your way to Starbucks, on your way to go grocery shopping, you get pissed off about the people raising the money for Boy Scout cookies standing outside of the ShopRite. Wait till you don't have Social Security. What do you think all the old people will do? What do you think? A third of them, 30 to 40% of them, count on that as their primary source of income? You need that. You need that. And I think it will always be there. So this isn't like an alarmist thing, but it's just a good conversation to have. One is you have to ask yourself, do you believe in Social Security? Do you think it's a program that's worth it? It's not a capitalistic program. So you have to get away from those isms. Capitalism, socialism, those isms are labels. We've talked about labels before. What are labels? Labels are distractions from critical thinking. If I say capitalism, if I say socialism, you stop thinking. You either agree or disagree. No critical thinking involved there. If I say Christian, if I say Muslim, you stop critically thinking. You put everybody in a bucket. You don't even think about it. You don't think, oh, do I agree with them on this point? You don't. You put a label on somebody. It's very easy. Because then you don't have to think. Republican, Democrat, I agree, I disagree. And you haven't even thought. Why? Because it's just general. It's just general. Labels are dangerous. Okay? So do I believe in capitalism? I'm not against it. There's some parts about it that are wrong. Do I believe in socialism? I'm not for it. There's some parts about it that we can learn. Social Security is a level of socialism. It's a government-run program for people. Okay? Capitalism is there's winners and losers. And if you lose, too bad, you're destitute. Okay? China is a level of capitalism in one sense. Okay? So, I mean, there's different ways, but what I want you to do is critically think. Don't just associate a ism, whether capitalism, socialism, social security. Don't just associate a label and then stop thinking. Okay? And it's a never-ending process of knowledge, of seeking truth, and it's an ongoing moving target. You're never going to figure out the world and have a solution for everything. So let me put your mind at ease, okay? And let me also state, don't spend your entire life trying to figure out every ill of the world. Jesus said there'll always be the poor among you. But he spent a lot of time helping the poor. So one is, I'm saying that scripture to say, you can't spend your entire life trying to figure out how to save the world. What you can do is live your life in a manner that makes the world better, okay? And then realize that everyone isn't you. You will be rewarded. You will be rewarded if you work hard, if you're a diligent worker, you live below your means, and you treat people right, and you're not a law, you abide by rules, and you're not disrespectful. You're going to live an above average life. You will, if you follow those principles. If you don't, then you're not going to live, you're going to live a little bit of a destitute life. But even if you don't, I don't believe we should ever get to a point where people live in absolute harmful conditions. Okay? So I always believe in having a level of support. And you have to realize too, everyone doesn't have your life circumstance. I had a great comment. I was going back and forth with Nancy. She's a beautiful viewer, and she has a great story. But we all have different life experiences. And that's the thing too. It's like, but that's the value of travel. The value of travel is when you see different parts of the country and different parts of society, you realize that some people growing up in a different area than you've experienced and that you've stayed in, you would never be able to understand that without travel. Malcolm X, when he was real rigid and real anti-white, as he got older and he traveled more, he opened his mind a little bit more. And he said, you know what? As I travel, and he saw a lot of white people standing up for civil rights, he goes, it expanded my mind, and travel has helped me. So, that's why, too, as a nomad, I see the value in travel with that. I mean, obviously, I've been through different life experiences that helps me give a broad perspective. So that's part of it, too. Now, I'm talking now in general terms of how we view society, because this is part of the issue. And, the other part of the issue is that, you have to realize that society is always going to, be a certain way as far as society is always going to be imperfect. So you're not going to make everything perfect. What you want to do is have, basic programs for basic support. And you want to understand that we often talk about on this channel breaking a cycle. Breaking a cycle is very hard. So, if you grew up and you saw an unhealthy relationship, it's harder to break that. But does that mean you shouldn't take accountability for your life and change it? Sure, you should. I grew up 1 out of 3 siblings. Both of my siblings, neither of them work. My mom worked her whole life. She still works. My mom works at a supermarket just to keep busy, and she collects Social Security. She still works. At almost 70 years old, she worked her whole life. The only reason she was able to get a divorce because her father left her a little inheritance. Without that side of that, we would have been in poverty once my parents got divorced. But that being said, one sister, both sisters don't work on government assistance. Majority of people on government assistance are white. Percentages show that. Of course, there are more to populations too, but I have to address that too because sometimes people, start to divide that by racial thing, but it's not racial. It's just a percentage of society that will always be there, no matter what race, culture, religion. You have to address that. You can't hide from that. And so how do you fund it? So obviously every paycheck, if you do work, you'll see it. Social Security comes out of your paycheck. The issue what they talk about now, it's a problem. It's because you have, more population that's older and you have less population that's younger. So you don't have as much going in and you have a lot of people taking it out. So now they try to figure out alternate ways of trying to fund that. But it's all relative, right? Because you're dealing with a society that prints money. Society does not operate off for every dollar there is gold backing up the worth of that dollar. That's why often when you hear about we should go back to the gold standard, what they're saying is back in the day, every dollar means every dollar that was printed, we had gold inside of a safe somewhere, Federal Reserve or whatever, and we had that to back up the worth of a dollar. Dollar, all it is paper. It's paper money. Okay. So, but we got away from that. Why? And it's good that we got away from it because that we needed to grow. A society doesn't grow. If everything was on the gold standard, if every dollar equated to gold, we would never grow. All businessmen, including Trump in the office, how do they operate? Off borrowing. How do you, big business, I'm not talking about small business, big business, big businesses, and I see you, Milano, the only way to go to the next level is kindness. Kindness is there. Yes, kindness has to be at the core of a society mindset. Then you have to balance that kindness with less emotion, because sometimes kindness, the tail wags the dog, and people abuse it. People abuse your kindness, period. So I'm a balanced person. So let me start my car. So what I'm saying is, how business grows is debt. Okay, I'm talking about big business. I'm not talking about little business. And little businesses. So big businesses employ a lot of people. So do small businesses, but pretty much, to have, the biggest employers are the U.S. government. They employ, all the federal workers, including all the Army people. Those are all considered. McDonald's and Walmart, pretty much in America. Those are the top three. Google it. So you have to understand that big business prints money. The top three employers, basically, the government, Walmart, and McDonald's, they're all big business. Okay, they're top employers. And how does big business operate? Off borrowing money. The federal government prints money, not based on how much we have, just printing money. What they do is they devalue the currency, but that only means something if one day we just stop paying on our debt. But, we'll probably just, do some type of bankruptcy reshaping. When a big business builds something and it fails, they'll just go into bankruptcy, they'll reorganize the thing, and some people, the big banks or the big people, they'll take a haircut and then go forward. So, what happened in the housing crisis was a lot of banks just trading the mortgages around, and people stopped paying them, and all hell broke loose. And so the government bailed out the banks. So I'm building up to a point where you have to have a mindset of corporations get bailout. Corporations get social taxpayer money. And you need them to, because you don't want every corporation to go under, then you have nothing. So it's not like evil, but what I'm trying to tell you is a lot of times people say, I don't want any type of socialism. Corporations get socialism. Corporations get huge tax incentives. If I know in one place in New Jersey, they're building an Amazon center. They're not going to have to pay any taxes for 10 years. Why? Because the government thinks, well, it's worth it if they don't have to pay taxes because they'll employ a lot of people. And when you employ a lot of people, then they move in that area. They spend money in that area. They buy houses in that area. They pay property taxes on those houses. And it's a whole cycle. So everything has a rhyme and reason in society. Okay? And everything is a little bit of a game, of a shell game of moving money around. But what I get to the point is, you have to always remember that it's the strong people's job to a certain extent take care of the weaker people, and everyone is not as strong as other people. Everyone's not as mentally strong as you. Everyone's not as smart as you. Everyone's not as, it doesn't mean you're better than everybody, but it's the job of the job of the strong people to not let the weak people get bullied. That being said, you are responsible for your own life, and it's a balance there. As somebody who is a leader, as somebody, you have an obligation to not only just take care of yourself and say fuck the world, as a community, as a country, and then as humanity, no matter what country you're from. You have an obligation to speak on issues, to be a voice, not an echo, and to say, this matters. When you say this matters, even if that's all you say, if you say I disagree, that's important. And I know it's not easy. I gave a couple people credit that they commented on the video I made about Social Security a little earlier. And I give anybody credit for leaving a thoughtful, respectful comment, because I know it's painful. I know it's painful to get involved, because a lot of times if I ain't even get involved in that conversation, because it's going to fucking be mentally draining, and I'd rather watch the Panda Show. I'd rather see, Bonnie and Clyde from Alabama, and people rather see that. Why? Because it's easier on the mind. It hurts to think. So I understand that, but I just want to say in general terms, one is it's the strong people's job to responsibility to stand up for the weak. Everyone isn't as smart as you, and you need certain programs for the weakest and the oldest of the land. And these people work. Social Security means you put in most of your life and you work for it. So it's not a free program. I want to be very clear about that. It's all a matter of how you fund it. That's a secondary topic, really, because mainly the main driver of what government spends money on is healthcare. That's the number one thing. And healthcare, the only way that changes is if you get reform on what type of food is served to society. You got to have some regulation there. It's nighttime now. I guarantee you most people eat like shit. And that's what hurts the country. But I don't want to get sidetracked. I would like to ask in general terms, what do you think about Social Security? Let's just start. Are you for it or against it? And, just start there if you want to share. If you don't want to share, then I'll just go on a little bit longer on it. Milano said, again, I'll read his, the only way to go to the next level is kindness. I agree with that. JPM Lawn Care said, I'm late. Five question marks. Sailing John from New Jersey, living on his boat, thumbs up. Hey, it's Miss Kimberly. And this Miss Kimberly, I checked out your man, Veiling Brandon. It is the guy I thought it was. Depressing. Come on, B. His last video was like I spent $260 on Fritos or something. And then he gives the oh, I've quit van life. I really didn't quit. I just raised money, for like a air conditioner. He's got a PayPal account on his thing and all that. Come on, I'm not feeling. God bless him. We're all different, but there was the guy I was thinking about. I knew it was that guy. JPM Lawn Care, we're talking about a little bit Nomad Challenge. Don't mind me. JPM Lawn Care, love money debates. Yeah, debates are good, period, if they're done the right way in a healthy environment. A debate that starts to talk about, like personal slander, no benefit there. And that's a distraction. So I agree with that, JPM. Social Security probably won't be available to us when we get older. Yeah, so one is Social Security used to be able to take full benefits out when you were 65, okay, without penalty. Right now, I think you could start to take them out at 62, but with a penalty. And then you used to be able to take them out at 65 at full retirement. And now you can't for a certain generation. You have to wait till you're 67 for full retirement. Why? Because in 1983, Ronald Reagan, as the president, helped with the legislation passed for tax reform, cut taxes, and also, when you cut taxes, social programs are going to take a hit because you're cutting money from one place and you have to take it from somewhere else. And he upped the age that you can collect before you get any penalty. And so, that's what happened. Some people suck, Ronald Reagan's knob, but that's what he did. Some people suck Obama's knob too. So it's all relative. It's all relative. But the bottom line is, the thought process is from that side of thinking is that if you cut taxes, business will grow and you grow your way out of debt or you grow your way to prosperity. But we've already been growing and we've been out of recession for quite a while. So at this time, to cut taxes and then to say you take away from social programs, I disagree. I am for Social Security, period, and I am for universal health care, period. Now, how you pay for it and the and how you regulate that a little bit and it doesn't go too social, that's debatable. But that's my overall mindset, my opinion. I realize others may have different. It's Miss Kimberly. 3 laugh to the side. You better laugh to the side because I was pissed when I saw. Wait, let me get to Philip's heads first. Dolores, my kindness to the landlord is useless. Dolores is from New Hampshire. And that's an interesting comment, Dolores, because she rents from an older guy. I think he's in his 90s. Now, I'm sure he's on Social Security. But Dolores, the Lord has already shown you it's time for you to get out of that place. That season of your life is over. At least that's what I get in my spirit. It's your life. Do what you want. Always preference that. But, so when, in my opinion, now this is what I'm sharing my life. When God shows you a season of your life is over, but you fear change and you don't want to move forward in faith and you stay where you're not supposed to be, you end up like Jonah. What was Jonah? He was a figure in the Bible. Now, this is I'm using it as a metaphor, not literal, okay? He was a figure in the Bible, and the story went that he didn't want to go somewhere, so he tried to avoid going there. So what happened to him? He ended up in the belly of the beast. He ended up in this big fish, basically, okay? Now, should you take that literally? Do what you want. But the story is to show us that when we don't go where God directs us, when we go somewhere opposite, we end up in the wrong place. We end up in the belly of the beast. Your blessing will not come when you stay in a season that's over, in my opinion. But I hear you, and I like that comment. And that's why I say, yes, kindness, yes, but people abuse kindness. So you do have to have a little bit of Trump in you, okay? You do have to have a little bit, look, cut the shit, okay? Because if not, if you're just like, oh yeah, we're going to help everyone. No, you can't. People take advantage of that. I've seen it. And, so you got to have a balanced mind. The problem is society struggles with the balance. Philip, hey everyone, ! I'm very pro Social Security, especially since we're paying into it. Yes, it's not a free system. We're paying into it. The problem is more people are taking out than paying in. Why? Because you have a higher level. You have more people that are older and less people that are younger because the birth rates have slowed. And, that's just the way society has functioned. In uneducated societies, there's higher levels of birth rates. There's less to do, and there's and a lot of times too, like in that undeveloped land, people have sex and people have kids. Why? To help them tend the land, to help them take care of each other. Because when you aren't self-reliant, you need to travel in a pack, okay? And so there's always going to be a certain amount of society that need to be around a pack because they need others they're not as strong as others. That's why it's the job of strong people in society to not bully the weak, but to set forth certain things to somewhat take care of them. Just to the point that they don't get led astray, because the problem with going in a pack is if you have a manipulator that's running that pack, bad news. You end up like Jim Jones. I've shared that story before, who was a preacher that manipulated the weak people, had them down in South America, and basically killed them all. What happens to the weak? They watch Van Dwell and Brandon and they donate to his PayPal account. They watch Nomadic Fanatic and they raise money for his tooth. Even though these people are living carefree, and 80% of society is living paycheck to paycheck. So when they take donations, who are they taking donations from? It certainly ain't Donald Trump donating to Nomadic Fanatic and Van Dwell and Brandon. It's the average person that already don't have 2 nickels to rub together. So you gotta be very careful. It's Miss Kimberly, 3 laughs to the sides. Yeah, but he lives in Michigan, so I thought the other guy would want to check him out. Fair enough. I love you. I'm letting that one slide. I love you. Milano, can we reserve the Reagan's tax cut reform? Can we reverse that Reagan's tax reform? Well, right now, tax rates, if you look at them over the course of history, they're at some of the lowest as far as net effective. Because you have a tax rate, then you have, which is like your gross, like, you have a salary, $100,000, but your effective salary is like $70,000 after taxes. So you have a tax rate of, the average person probably around $25,000. So the average person, if you make $75,000 or less, the average U.S. citizen makes $50,000 a year, you're in, I think, 25% bracket. Once you get below 43 or 30,000, then you pay even less. Once you get above 100,000, you start to pay. Once you get above 93, you start to pay 27%. Okay, so let's just say the average person 25%. That's their tax rate. But after deductions, after you deduct if you have a house, property taxes, after you deduct any charitable causes, after you deduct your kids, after you deduct different things that you can deduct, the average person's like net thing is like somewhere between 15 to 18%. Okay. Now, corporate tax reform, I think that's needed. I think we want to be competitive. I think you do want to cut certain tax rates. But what can you do? So I'm not trying to say like I am not one of those people like punish business. There's no wisdom in that. It's government should create an environment where business can grow, where small businesses can thrive. It shouldn't be government versus private sector or business. It should be government and business complementing each other. Okay? So that's my mindset on it. What I would do, you have the middle wage income is not grown enough. So what you need to do is the CEO of McDonald's, there's no way he should make way more than the guy doing the fries, but it should be in proportion. That guy shouldn't be making $100 million a year, with tax incentives, etc. And the guy making $10 an hour. You got to start with that. We're no longer in an industrial society. We're in a technology society. What does that mean? There's no longer plant jobs that you stay at for 30 years and you get a good wage. Most of the jobs now are in restaurants, they're in food services and products. They're in Walmarts, they're in McDonald's, they're in Chipotle's, they're in Starbucks. That's where all the jobs are now. The production jobs aren't coming back. So, and as much as Trump talks about putting tariffs and all that, he didn't bring any jobs back. Well, Apple's still making shit over there in China. I mean, none of that changed. That was all part of the election cycle. So, and to get that to change, to be honest with you, Obama couldn't do it either. To get that to change, you can't happen. We're a global society. YouTube right now, there's people all over the globe, even in my small channel, that comment from Australia. We're a global society because of technology. But you have to use technology to help even out the scales and, to pay dividends. I mean, stock market are all-time high. Certainly the people should get a dividend. Every time the stock market goes, and I have money in the stock market, I'll be honest with you, and I do a little trading. But to be honest with you, I know that 80% of Americans don't have any money in the stock market, okay? So, and even the ones that do, it's all their 401k. So the bottom line is when the stock market goes up, a dividend should go out to the people too. And instead of going directly to that corporation, so it's just borrowed money. I mean, it's a big thing, hard to get all the answers. Let me keep going though. JPM Lawn Care. I would love to stop paying into it and invest in other ways. Well, I'm going to get to that. But there will be always people who can't be responsible enough to do that. So we need Social Security for that reason. Amen. Amen. Because let me tell you something. That's the other part of the equation that people, you have to remind, you're dealing with human emotion. So like my mom, I know. She says, Sam, I know DiGiorno pizza is bad for me. DiGiorno pizza you get from the supermarket. She has diabetes. But every night she has a DiGiorno pizza and like sugary snacks. She can't help herself. And I used to get very frustrated with her because I was like, come on, you know better. Then as I get more mature and I see how hard life is, I realize that certain people can't help themselves. You will never have compassion until you fail. You will never have compassion until you invest on your own and then you fucking lose $100,000. And what happened in 2007? All the smartest guys in the room, the Jamie Dimons and all those, they all lost big money, but they got bailouts. So you have to understand, yes, no matter what you do, society, you're always going to have a certain percentage of society that even if you give them everything, they're going to not be able to handle it. And they're going to screw it up. And we all screw it up. So you have to have that level of safety net. You don't want destitute people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s looking for jobs. What are they going to be able to do? I mean, so there's going to have to be some type of dividend given back to the people. There's going to have to be some type of, corporate CEO ratio to the average employee. It shouldn't be that the CEO makes 1,000% more than the average employee. And that, he could still be wealthy beyond his measure. He can still be wealthy for generations. But you get to a certain point of wealth where, it's irrelevant. It's just power. It has nothing to do with what you can't spend all that money in 2 generations. So, that's why I'm not against, but you can't just tax, wealthy people, but that's a part of it. And I think the overall mindset of you have to have an honest conversation with people is that, you have to live below your means. We don't teach living below your means. I mean, that should be the number one thing when you're taught in school. Why isn't it? Why are you taught algebra and science? Society is two-faced. The government wants to blame you and blame people and put you against people that are on Social Security or on welfare, etc. But society, since you're born, they advertise to you to consume. All the advertisements that are run, all the big business, they want, the system doesn't work if you don't go in debt. That's why Paul Ryan said today, people should have more kids. That's an irresponsible statement. Most people shouldn't. But the only way this society works is if most people are in debt. It's the only way the wheels turn. And so that's how society's two-faced. We say we hate people that are on social programs, but if everyone lived below their means, and if everyone lived a simple life and just saved, society wouldn't turn. It would be a whole different society. I think we could still reform society and we'd be all right, but there'd be a big shift, and that eventually that may come to that. But that's why society doesn't teach when you're very young in school. There's no really long teaching sessions on living below your means and balancing your budget and not buying a house, more than 25% of your income. You learn algebra, you learn word problems, you learn fucking whatever, and you pay thousands of dollars a daycare. And then before you know it, you're 27, you got a kid, you're making $50,000, you're starting to get in a fight with your, wife, because 50% of marriages end in divorce. Before you know it, you're 35 and you're paying for college loans, you got, child support, etc., etc. That's the average person's life. And, and you just end up in a bad cycle. And society thrives off that, because the more you're in consumerism, the more you have to stay in that vicious cycle, So, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing. You get a little bit in a tangent. And I'm talking this out myself, and that's why I have these debates. I'm not here saying I have all the answers. Nobody has all the answers. These are part of conversations that reveal part of the answers through dialogue, healthy dialogue, not contention, and not based on political party. And then, we see if we can get a little bit more enlightened. And that's an ongoing process. It'll never stop. All right, let me get back to some comments to read your voice. Milano says, back to the 65 retirement, or 62 or 60. Yeah, I agree. If the average life expectancy is 78 and you can't take full benefit Social Security retirements until 67, and it'll probably be higher time, like, people in their 30s and 20s get it. I mean, what do you have, 8 years? The average person. There's people that live into their 90s, and there's people that live below. But the average person, 8 years. And what I see, I'm in Florida right now. Let me tell you something. I see people in their 70s. They ain't surfing. Most of them. There's some that are great shape, phenomenal. But most of them walking around with canes, putzing around. And, so it's like, at some point, you'll have to, you have to reward. Well, not just reward, they're putting into it. They have to be able to get out what they put in. And two is, you have to realize the average person, when they're making $1,500 a month on Social Security, that's less than $10 an hour if you work 40 hours a week. It's basically $10 an hour. That's not a lot. Now, I realize, and that's the other thing that should be taught in school, not all this other bullshit that's taught, not volleyball for an hour, is that Social Security is just going to be a supplement. That's what it is. You can't, I saw my mom, trying to make by on $1,500 a month. That's very hard. How the hell can you do that? And you don't even have 100% health care. Medicare, it pays like 80%. You still need to pay for a supplement. So I believe in Social Security, period, and I believe in universal health care, period. Now, the debate for me, in my opinion, this is my opinion now, is that, what you do to structure those programs and the different, things around them, the details around them. It's Miss Kimberly. 3 laughs out loud as much as I talk about Brad. I love you. It's Miss Kimberly. JPM Lawn Care. How does anyone afford daycare these days? I have a friend I work with. I won't say his name. I think he was paying like $1,500 a month. $1,500 a month for daycare. That's why the debate is, if a woman is willing to, or if a man is willing to, should one parent stay at home? In many cases, it's almost better, because you're going to pay just the same amount. Now, the only downside is if the other person doesn't want to, you don't want somebody being a stay-at-home parent if they want to work. So, that's tough. But I definitely say daycare is a huge... That's what I'm saying. The worst thing you can do, financially speaking, if you are not in a good financial space, is have more kids. That's why I got very upset when I saw Paul Ryan say that today. That the only solution for Social Security is for society to have more kids? Whoa. To me, that sounds like a person who wants people to stay in a poverty cycle, and then they'll blame people for being on welfare and food stamps. I had one viewer, Gloria, said that she had 2 kids. She got divorced, I think, in the 70s or 80s. She was making $10,000 a year. She was working. And she went to get food stamps because she just got a divorce. And she was making, whatever that was, minimum wage at the time. She was working, though. And they wouldn't give them to her. And they said, no, you need to have 3 kids in order to get certain programs. And I've seen that with my mom and my sisters. I mean, they'll do that. You almost have to check out of the workforce to get any help. There's no incentive to work and the incentive can't be, well, take away all programs, just make people work, because what happens then? You can't survive off $10 an hour. I live in my car full time out of choice. If I made $10 an hour, I would be living bare bones. Bare bones. I mean, we're not without supplemental help. I mean, you basically have to, and that's why all these guys have PayPal accounts and stuff too. I mean, but I believe if you should work, you can. I think, minimum wage to me should be $20 an hour. Why? Because you should incentivize people to work. When you leave minimum wage $7.25, which I believe it is now, you basically saying, yeah, we want you to work and you're still going to need government assistance. I would think you would say, look, mandate, especially if you're a big corporation that basically works off borrowed money from the stock market. It's not real money, it's borrowed money that you reinvest in a CEO's cake bonus. You should say, look, minimum wage $20 with full benefits. That should incentivize. Then if people don't want to work, then cut some social programs, because then they have an opportunity. Look, people want to work. But it's like, if you have the option to work for $10 an hour, it's all relative, because I realize that some people just never going to want to work, and it's a counterbalance. It's a counterbalance. Bad connection there. Excuse me. But daycare is a huge thing. JPM Loan Care. Retirement is a number, not an age. Well, I agree with that. It's a good point. I am not waiting on Social Security. I think that's wisdom. I think that's the other part of that Social Security debate. You can't plan your life around Social Security, whether it's going to be there or not, and to JPM Lawn Care's point, to the point of living your life. Okay? And that's part of the reason why I downsized my life. I could have stayed in my house. I wasn't getting bankruptcy or anything. But I wanted to have more money. I wanted to have more free time so I can do more things while I'm young and active and able and enjoy my life. Like I say, I'm 37 now. Thank God, I'm out here living my dream. I'm not fully there, but I'm able to go in the ocean, surf, walk. Like I say, I see people 70. They can barely get to the ocean water. They can barely make it there. So it's like you have to also live simply enough where you can enjoy every day, so you're not waiting for this magical number. That was also a myth of society. Well, not a myth, but we evolved. We grow. Each generation, each population, they evolve as they get older, and we learn from previous generations. And I think the one thing that's we learn. It doesn't mean I still work. You still work until you can do something else. But you also need to seize the moment and enjoy your life, and not just wait for this magical number, because you're going to get there and you're going to realize most of your life is gone. Okay, and that's the facts. Good comment, JPM. It's Miss Kimberly. I don't have kids because I know I can't afford it. Well, that's wisdom to have one. Amen. There's other reasons, but I see the struggle from other people. Amen. It's Miss Kimberly. It's Miss Kimberly is 33. She's officially a millennial. And that's kind of what Paul Ryan was saying. Most millennials and younger people aren't having kids. But why? Because society that's more educated doesn't. It's Miss Kimberly served in the military. She also probably saw, like I saw in my life, that, when you have kids, you get caught in a trap. I saw my mother go through it. I saw different people go through it. And kids are a blessing. I want to be clear, period. And if you want a kid, you should have a kid, period. And if you want multiple kids, have them. But what we've learned is there are a lot of money. It has a huge correlation with poverty rates. And, it's for daycare, like JPM Loan Care mentioned, and everything else. It's very hard. So, you don't want to just, get to a society where, you have that level of inequality. Not good. Not good. And again, this is beyond race. It's beyond culture. This is for society in general. And I hate when society tries to divide it up like that. I see this across the board in life, period. We're all human. We all go through the same things. And so we need to always be mindful of programs, but programs are not the end-all be-all. Again, you still need to put the effort in. And I agree with that too. Nancy made that comment. Look, some extent, you're responsible. I mean, you are responsible for you. You're responsible to go out there to apply for jobs, to, if you don't get them, keep applying. I've seen people give up on life too. I mean, shame on them. I see people fight 3-4 times to get Social Security, disability, etc., etc. Now, do some of those people as a legit claim? I don't know them. So I don't, and I do know some of them. I don't want to speak about it. I mean, I don't know. Some people I know on Social Security, disability, and they're at the gym every day. So I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's some scam out there, but there's corporate scams too. Corporate welfare is a real thing. So there's social welfare that people take advantage of, like even in my own family, I'll admit, and you got corporate welfare that I've seen too. So you can't just say the lower part of society is wrong. You can't just blame everything on rich people. It's human nature. It's human nature. And you have to have that well-balanced mind. Not easy. Lancaster. Hello, my friends. Lancaster, love and respect to you, brother. Love and respect. It's Miss Kimberly watching 3 digit emoji videos and see how much these people are getting paid from Social Security is ridiculous. Well, one is, I want to be clear. If you've worked all your life and you're in your 60s and you're living off your Social Security, and if you're in the desert with Bob Wells or whoever, I got no problem with that. You worked your whole life. You put into that system. The issue I had with Bob Wells was Bob Wells got divorced, okay? Older women love him, but he got divorced. His wife, I guess his ex-wife didn't love him that much. And then when he got divorced, he was on Social Security disability. He showed the scar. But he had enough strength to do a van build out. And after he did his van build out, he started a YouTube channel. Then when he started a YouTube channel, he got in a fight with the guy he started the channel with, and then he branched off and did his own channel. Now he's up to 100,000 subscribers. He's finally making money, and he wants everybody to come to the RTR so that he can take more videos of their car build-outs. But to be fair, Bob Wells has inspired me. Bob Wells has inspired other people to live an alternative lifestyle. I think part of a successful, healthy society is learning that efficiency is luxury. Learning that less is more. Bob Wells helped that. Got to give him credit. So as we grow in society, we realize, pray for them. Somebody just, ambulance called. I'm in Florida. Seniors calling that ambulance. Somebody just, God forbid, pray for them. And so what I'm trying to tell you is, alternative lifestyle and living more efficiently with technology, with understanding data, we can do that. And that'll be part of the, society self-correct. We're able to see more information. We're able to get more data. And then we tend to make better decisions, but we still fail. And you'll never understand compassion until you fail. Sometimes I think I got it. Then I fail. I say, oh shit, thank God for grace. Thank God for grace. You can be the smartest, strongest person. When you get hit in the mouth, you'll be humbled. Okay? And I'm talking about hitting the mouth by life. Okay? And so, it's Miss Kimberly. I knew someone who quit her job because her paycheck was going to daycare. Daycare's a huge thing. But she was married, so I guess she could afford to quit. Yeah, I mean, I knew a couple that are married. Husband worked. Wife wanted to be a stay-at-home mom just because she had that desire. And she basically quit, and the husband got upset, but then they worked it out, and now she's been a stay-at-home mom for a while, and they both seem to be getting along great. So, one is, being married is not easy. Again, marriage rate, 50% failure. So just being married without kids and successfully is very hard. But I think if one parent, whether the male or female, wants to stay at home, and what daycare rates are now, not a bad idea if one person wants to. The overall answer, again, is live below your means, because, both people work and they both spend too much. Doesn't matter. Now you got daycare and too much to cost, so. Fear. Love and respect to you. Good to see you again, brother. That is why I see many more retired Americans moving to Central America with their $1,500 bills and have money to save. Yeah, I mean, that's an option. I've heard that option, to move to a different country. I mean, the downside is you have in some countries. I haven't traveled around the world, so I have to be fair. In some countries, you have less infrastructure and, less options. I mean, I know somebody just came back from Mexico, and he said basically outside of the resort were all, military guys with guns. Why? Because once you go outside of the resort area in Mexico, in many areas, not all, is that, any outsider, I mean, they're looking to mug, because, there's huge corruption in Mexico. And there's a reason. There's huge corruption with, whether it's with cartels or whatever it may be. Not everywhere. I mean, there's some, just like everything else. I mean, but you have to understand that what America is good on is infrastructure and social security programs, etc. What it does is it keeps the masses from being without. And when you have a level of equality, you have a level of less corruption. When you have a huge level of inequality, you have a huge way of corruption. I mean, so there's various things too in Africa. I mean, Africa is one of the most richest resourced lands. I was watching a thing on C-SPAN YouTube, and it was an African leader who got up. And he said, we're one of the wealthiest nations as far as resources, natural resources. And, we still need France's help financially to sustain ourselves. And he goes, if we're going to go forward and be a great nation, we have to realize part of the problem is corruption. Different sects, different tribes, different family traditions, that certain people are in power, they hoard all the money and they oppress the other. And even though this is a land of rich thing, they're not able to find equality. Rwanda, in the 90s, it was like 1 million people killed in a couple hundred days. What was that over? Tribal warfare. Tribal warfare. What's that behind? Money. Money. Certain people want to be in power to control the resources. This spans all races, cultures, religions, all countries. This is a money power grab. So this is why you need certain programs to you're never going to equal out society, because it's human nature. You're always going to have imbalances. But you want to have a level of structured safety nets so that you never have such a huge inequality that a huge level of corruption and then eventually, violence and it gets out of balance, way out of balance, and that's not healthy. And we're one of the richest nations in the world. So, I go up the street here. I mean, there's multi-billion-dollar, not billion, I shouldn't, but there's probably like the house I saw the other day. I mean, today, probably like $20 million right on the beach. So, is that wrong? No. I mean, that's the thing. It's not wrong, but, you just have to have some level, you just have to be mindful of the equality and the balance out of life. I mean, if that person has that house, and I haven't seen one car go to that $20 million house yet, it's just sitting there. I mean, there's a level of wealth when it just gets obscene. And then we're talking about, people can't get Social Security funded when they're already getting taxed every paycheck. It just doesn't seem right. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem like it's all adds up. Scott Berman. Hey, Scott, what's up, brother? Milano, $25 sounds better. I agree with that, Milano. I wouldn't be against $25 an hour. The only thing I would say is if you're a small business, Milano basically talking about the minimum wage. I wouldn't be against $25 an hour. I thought of that myself. Now, it's relative, too, because if you live in Alabama and you make $25 an hour versus if you live in New York City, you make $25 an hour, big difference. You make $25 an hour in New York City and Manhattan, you might as well be broke. You make $25 an hour in Alabama, in a certain, rural part, you may be rich. You understand what I'm saying? So, not rich, but, you'd be good off. But the only contingent I would put around that is that if you were a small business, say you were a mom and pop restaurant, and, you had a very small, restaurant, I don't think you'd be able to afford 25-hour waitresses, etc. So in that case, if someone's willing to work, then, if you were a small business, maybe 50 employees or below, then, as a business, you put $10 in towards your employee and the government picks up another $15. The government's printing money anyway. And the money doesn't grow on trees. It comes from the Federal Reserve that prints money. All they do is devalue the currency. And it's just a game. Let the government, for small businesses, 50 or under, let them supplement to get up to $25. The business puts in 10, the government puts in 15, and there you go, $25 an hour. Okay? Most people end up going to spend it back in the economy anyway, so it's like, it's Miss Kimberly gave the 3 deserts emojis, and I know I'm a little bit behind on comments. It's JPM Lawn Care. It's Miss Kimberly, 3 laughs, and the desert emoji. It's Miss Kimberly. Also, there's always other people worse off than you. Yes. There's always other people worse off than you. I'm taking off my sweater because I'm in Florida. There's always people, and you got to be thankful. thankfulness is a shifting of a mind. So let me say this. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. This country is overall a blessing, and we have to be honest about that. I mean, we are blessed. And there are great opportunities out there. Let's not beat the drum that society is totally shit and we don't live in a good land. That's unfair. We live in a great land overall, and there are a lot of opportunities out there for people who are willing to work and gradually build themselves up and live below their means. So let's have a balanced conversation that, government is not all evil, capitalism is not all evil, America is not evil, okay? It's a balanced mind, and it's just a discussion on these issues. Great point, though. It's Miss Kimberly. Always start with a level. Thank you. Scott Berman. I and my friends wonder, sorry about the bad connection, guys. I and my friends wonder if we are paying into Social Security and will ever see any benefit later in my life. Scott, yeah, well, I mean, I'm in the same boat as you, but I'm thankful to pay into it because one is I want to keep funded for the people that are elderly, and I want to ensure that they get paid. I do not want to see elderly people not have Social Security. And, I'm still for it. I don't think we should ever get to a point. I mean, what are you going to say? Look at what does come out of your paycheck? $100 or something like that. I mean, not much, a couple $100. I mean, that's not going to really change your life. I mean, so, I mean, certainly it wouldn't benefit you more by having that couple $100 at the end of each month versus paying into a program to have an insurance that it's there for elderly people and hopefully for us when we get there. So the risk reward isn't saying, well, and that's why even what you got to be careful with tax breaks. I mean, if you get 3% tax break, does it really help most people? No. If your taxes get cut down by 3 or 5%, it ain't gonna change your life. It ain't gonna change your life. If 3 to 5% changes your life, and that's kind of like what Social Security takes out of your paycheck, I think on average, something like that. Somebody Google that and tell me, what does Social Security take out of your paycheck per year? Like 3 to 5%, probably something of your annual salary. If that's going to change your life, you're living above your means. You understand what I'm saying? So it's better the program be there. It's Miss Kimberly. That's what I think, Scott! Exclamation mark. And then Philip gave the alien emoji. So it's a good conversation. No one answer. It's a conversation. Conversation has many perspectives, and it's interesting. Actually, Social Security started in 1935. I did Google that the other day. I was looking that up. So that's when it was enacted. And it's been around a while there. But I think Social Security and universal health care are the two biggest social programs that need. One is Social Security should be maintained. And I think we need to get to a point, just like Canada, just like Europe, where you have government-run health care for everybody. I mean, their countries are doing great. Canada's doing great as far as, their finance. I mean, Canada's booming. Europe's not bad. I mean, so, I will get there. The debate will be how we get there and what gets what. But, society gets there. It's just good to keep it in the forefront, not to be caught in contention. But I would just say, too, just always remember that certain people aren't as strong as other people. Philip says Social Security. Oh, good. Thank you for Googling it. This is excellent information. Philip Googled how much percentage they take out of your paycheck per year. So Philip says Social Security takes 6.2% out of your paycheck. Just Googled it. Thank you. That's a powerful statistic. Thank you. And that's what I mean, more well-informed. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, where would you find that information out? You wouldn't. You would depend on what anybody told you in your school or whatever the government told you on the media. So the government takes out 6.2% of your annual salary. So the annual average salary in America is $50,000. So if they take out 6%, what's 10%? 10% of 50 is 5, right? So divide that in half, 25. They take out about $2,700 out of your paycheck if you made the annual salary. So yeah, basically a couple $100 a month, more or less, and that's pre-tax, I believe. So, after tax, if you decide to look, I don't want to put into Social Security, I want that money. So now you're going to get $2,700 extra a year. So now you got to take away basically 25% of that because now you're going to get taxed on it. So let's say now you're instead of 27, you're going to get somewhere whatever 20. Just figure you get 2,000. So, you get a couple $100 more dollars a month. Now, $200 more a month when you're in debt helps, but I think when you're at that point, you're still living above your means. $200 extra a month, I've been there. It's a blessing when you can get that, especially when shit is tight. But what I've learned in life is if you're cutting it that close, you're living above your means. But I've been there in life. So it's like, you know what I mean? You have to understand that there's a season for everything, and that you have to go through that to learn it. Oh, John Maloney on a check-in. John Maloney says, and then your employer matches the 6.2%. I didn't know that, John. Thank you. So are you saying, John, I have to Google, I never heard that. I knew about the match program with the 401k. I did not know about Social Security. So are you saying, John, what you research, that the person puts in 6.2% of their salary and the employer pays another 6.2 to the government for Social Security, not for an annuity, for Social Security? That's interesting. I never heard that. So, too, I knew John from when I worked in a union as a union electrician. So that's the thing, union to non-union, where, unions had a lot of, which the good part about unions were there's a lot of guarantees. You have guaranteed annuity, and nothing in life is guaranteed, but you had an insurance. You had an insurance of a certain amount of annuity. You also had an insurance for a certain level of supplemental health care. Like I said, when you get to retirement age, you still have to pay like 20% a supplement health care carrier. Unions covered a lot of that. The bad part about unions, there's a level of corruption there, and it's basically you're in one slot. Once you top out to like a journeyman status or a certain level, there's no room for growth, and you can be treated all the same. So say you do an outstanding job and somebody doesn't, you're rewarded by consistent work, but there's a level of you're not really rewarded for your own uniqueness. You're in this, so it's a counterbalance. It's a counterbalance. John Maloney says, I believe that's how it works. Please research and let me know if I'm correct. I will, but it's a good point. It makes us think, and this is part of healthy dialogue. I don't have all the answers either. But general discussion, not through the lens of being politically contentious, but addressing things. We all have different political mindsets, and it's a good topic. It's a good topic to discuss. Thank you, John. Thank you, everyone. Gloria gives some good comments on my video, too. Let's read Gloria's live feed comment here. I collect Social Security. Well, here we go. It's a good perspective. And a pension. See, and I'm going to keep reading your comment, Gloria. That's the other part about future generations. Like previous generations, a lot of us, I have a little bit of pension because I worked a few years with a union. But a lot of people, the average young person will not have any type of pension. So prior, in the industrial era, we're in the technology era. Previously, we were in an industrial era. And part of the industrial era, such as manufacturing plants, unions, etc., there were guaranteed pensions. That's gone. The 401k plan shifted, the pension plan shifted that off the employer onto the employee. So at one point, whatever company you work from 30 years, they guarantee you a pension, etc. In addition, then you have Social Security supplementing that. In today's generation, those days are gone. On average, there's exceptions. The average person, you got a 401k plan, and most people don't put into that. And even when they do put into it, they borrow against it. And then that's a bit, and that'll go up and down with the market. Now, annuities and pensions go up and down, but they're basically guaranteed. They're backed by the government. If you decide to get real risky with your 401k plan and the market takes a shit for 5 years, it's on you. There's no government backing you. You understand what I'm saying? It's you are investing it, through a mutual fund, through a target plan. Now what it is, I would do a whole one on 401ks. They have target plans. By default, based on your age, they give you a target plan based on your life expectancy of retirement, and it'll basically diversify your 401k to more bonds and less stocks, less risk as you get older. So that's the whole thing too. But I don't want to get off track. Let me keep reading Gloria's comment. Let me start from the beginning. Gloria says, I collect Social Security and a pension, which I have paid into for 46 years. Praise the Lord. I earn my Social Security. That's right. I have to pay income tax every year on my pension. And, and my pension. I get $1,800 each month. Thank you for sharing that. I am not getting rich. Amen. No, I agree with that, Gloria. Thank you for sharing and being honest with that. I agree. Yeah, Social Security, even when you get it, like I said in the video, I mean, what do you get? The average person gets $1,500 a month, and they don't have a pension. Many people don't. Like my mother, who got divorced, she didn't have a pension. Once you get divorced, I mean, for at a certain level, I mean, I don't know. I mean, that was a different generation, so let me not try to make that parable. But even if you make $2,000 a month, glory is close. Say you get $1,500 from Social Security, another $500 from pension. $2,000 a month. I spend $2,000 a month now. I live out of my car. Now I buy as much Starbucks and stuff as I want. I travel as much as I want, spend as much gas. But $2,000 a month is not a lot of money. Especially when you consider you're still going to have to pay supplemental health care for the other 20%. And even if you have your house paid off for, you got to pay property taxes. You got to pay for utilities. The average person ain't going to live out of a car, especially at 65, 75 years old. I mean, come on. So, after you figure all that, you have a few $100s left at the end of the month if you're lucky. If you're lucky. So, it's just, it's an interesting conversation. It's Miss Kimberly. Topic, talk about income tax and how people spend their money, tax money, like on cars. Yes. Well, one is income tax. If you get it, she's basically saying at the end of each year, you file your taxes. They're due by April 15th of, so this year, this April 15th, you will pay for the 2017 taxes. Currently, we're in 2017 as I make this video. It's December 14th, 2017. So in April 2018, by April 15th, you have to pay taxes on this year. So basically, when you work for an employer, you put how many dependents you want to claim. The more dependents you claim, including yourself, the less they take out for taxes. So if you have investments, if you have other things, you can possibly owe at the end of the year on any income that you didn't get taxed enough on. And you have to either pay by April 15th or you have an interest rate applied by the government. Most people claim less than they should and get an income check back. And most people that get an income check back are already at a very low tax rate. I mean, the average person makes $50,000 a year. They're in a 25% tax rate. And they usually get a tax return. They usually claim single one or single zero or married one. And they get whatever. I think the average tax return, somebody Google, what's the average tax refund? I think it's maybe $2,000. So what do they do with that? Well, probably not $2,000, but for the average person, maybe $1,500. So what do they do with that? Yeah, they blow it. But that's what I'm saying. The general, and I did that for years too, so I'm not judging that. The general mindset, what's not taught in school, you're taught algebra, you're taught home ec, you're taught volleyball, you're taught world history. You are not taught to live below your means. You're not taught to live on less. You're taught to consume. We're in a consumerism society. 70% of society is based on consumerism. And then we bitch and moan about people being in debt and about, welfare programs. So, but the other part of that equation is even if you were taught, even if society was taught financial principles, you have human emotion. Human emotion, no matter how much knowledge there is, you will fail. And many people can never get past the human emotion part. Example, before you judge, how many people in this room have been in an unhealthy relationship? And when you're in a unhealthy relationship, you have complete knowledge that what you're doing is wrong, but you still do it. Whether it's sex related, whether it's emotion related, human emotion, even if we have the knowledge and are taught the right things, we'll still make the wrong decisions. There was a movie about the future that government decided to give the people an injection, and what the injection did, if anybody knows this movie, leave a comment. And I'm going to get back to the comments. This movie took place in the future, and the government, oh wow, Philip, I'm going to read that. And the government decided to give everybody in society an injection. The injection took away human emotion because the government deemed that human emotion causes most bad decisions. And to some extent, that's 100% right. I think what was that famous actress that was in that? But either way. But what happened was, when you have no emotion in life, you're a robot. You're an algorithm. You're a mathematical formula. You're a tree. Emotion is needed in life. And that's what makes us unique as beings. The only thing that separates you from a tree is that you have the power of thought and you have human emotion. So I am not one of those people that say government should just do things because humans make bad decisions. No. It's a balance. It's a tough balancing act. And that's why we're just having a conversation as an exercise here. I want to get back to some good comments here. Philip's doing a lot of research. Thank you. Just looked it up. The employer is in fact supposed to match the 6.2%. Philip, great job. And John Maloney, great job. You guys just informed me. I didn't know that. Powerful. Good information. Thank you both. JPM Lawn Care. It's my job as a parent to teach my boys finance. Amen. I think that's wisdom. And I would share as a parent of 3 children. Let me ask you this. I don't want to speak for you. JPM Lawn Care. You had 3 children. What do you tell your children about having children? Do you tell them to wait? Do you tell them, what do you share with them about having children? It's Miss Kimberly. I think probably about the unhealthy relationships. I've been in them too. It's Miss Kimberly. Philip, another great statistic here. Average individual return. Wow, I didn't think it was that much. Philip says that according to Google, the average individual tax fund return is $3,120. Wow, great statistic. So that means on average, people pay the federal government $3,100 more, approximately $3,000 more than they have to. And the government holds that with interest. But at the end of the day, it's probably good that the government holds it and people get one check anyway. But then they'll blow it. But I blowed it for years too. That's the other thing. Like now I kind of got life not figured out because I still fail. But, I'm middle-aged. I kind of understand how things work. For years I fucked up. So I always try to catch myself when I get a little bit prideful. Say, Sam, how long did you struggle with something? Just because I figured it out now doesn't give me the right to talk down on somebody else. Because I was in that cycle. Where at the, I get the $3,100 or whatever it was and I blow it. Or I just pay off the debt. I know some people, they ran up debt all year and then at the end of the year, they just paid it off with debt. So, not easy. Great statistic, Philip. Good job. And thank you, John Maloney, if you're still in the room. Gloria. Thank God I had a good job, 46 years. That's a blessing to have a job 46 years. Yes. And Social Security. That's right. Few people today will never hold one job that long. Amen, Gloria. I Googled that. The average person in today's society only works with the same company for 4.5 years. Gloria was with one company and got a pension. She worked for them for 46 years. The average person today will only work for the same employer for 4.5 years. The average one. Powerful. And I want to continue to read her comment. She said, yes, my out-of-pocket insurances and meds go up. Yeah, medical problem. Yep. Each year, that's right. My average tax return is about $350. Great information, Gloria. Thanks for sharing. Way to add your voice to the conversation. Everybody here has a good voice. I'm feeling it. Philip, my new nickname should be the Googler. Laugh out loud. Amen. Amen. You're doing a great job, Philip. Thank you. Yeah, it's Miss Kimberly gave you some love. 3 left to the sides and hands up. Yeah, you guys do a good job. And she gave you, it's Miss Kimberly. She's good with the emojis. She should be like the emoji queen. She gave you 3 computers and a hands up to show you that you're good. Good job. It's Miss Kimberly. And Philip laughed out loud. And then Philip gave a smiley face. And she said the emoji queen. She got that in there quick. Good job. It's Miss Kimberly. Gloria says, I am single and I am single and penalized for that, pay higher taxes. I am too. I pay high taxes. But I'm in the 10% of society too. So I want to be fair. Like I make these videos like, I'm blessed. I make 6 figures. I'm in 10, if statistically I'm at 10% of the society as far as earners. So I can't sit here and cry the blues either. But I I could easily just take my money and walk away, so it is what it is. But Gloria, I am single and I penalize for that, pay higher taxes. I do too, but I make more. I make a lot, so it's all relative. But you're retired. You're in a different part of life. I will get less back if new tax laws. Let me read this. I want to read this right. I am single and penalized for that. I pay higher taxes. I will get less back if the new tax laws pass because I won't be able to. I'm sorry, I got knocked off. This is a good comment though. So Gloria said that if the new tax plan passed, based on what she's saying, she would not be able to claim interest on a house. I think that's just a debating point. I don't think they will ever take away basically what happens is, if you don't know what she's talking about, Basically, what happens is I had a mortgage for years, and most people, even if they can pay it off, they get a mortgage. Most people that like understand money. Why? Because not most people understand money. Just certain people with certain mindset. I'll say that because you can deduct the interest you pay on the loan for your mortgage, and you would use that money to put in other investments that on average would yield higher. You take a risk, but you could lose that investment and then you still have a mortgage. But that's what a lot of people do in certain financial communities. But they leverage up. That's when you hear the term leverage. A lot of people in the business community, they use leverage. They use debt to take from one thing, to borrow on something, and to put it in a different investment that on average would yield a higher return. That's all big business is. And that's why when certain big businesses fail, they'll do bankruptcy and they'll restructure it, because that business isn't based on their own personal cash money. That business is based on leveraged money from either investors or et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying? So it's all a game. But that's interesting. I don't think, back to Gloria's point, I don't think they'll ever take away the mortgage. They don't want to take away the mortgage interest rate. Why? They want more people buying houses. When people buy houses, they go into debt, not only just for the mortgage, but there's statistics that show, Philip, Google this, how much does the average person spend on home renovations when they first move in their house? I remember talking to somebody in the financial community and say, that's why they'll keep it there, is because when someone first buys their house, they spend like, I think $15,000 or something to renovate on average the way they want. So that's more consumerism. When someone buys a house, what happens? Home Depot stock goes up. When house sales go up, Home Depot stock go up. Because as soon as you buy a house, you're right back in consumerism. That's why government wants to incentivize people to buy homes, because they keep the consumerism cycle going. But I would agree with Gloria that after a certain age too, I think there should be more deductions. I mean, I believe in taking care of the elderly, the sick, and the destitute. Now, obviously, there's a level of balance there, but that's my opinion. Good comment, Gloria. Philip, hashtag emoji queen. Yes, that's RS Miss Kimberly. She's emoji queen. JPM Lawn Care. I tell them, this is the question. I asked JPM Lawn Care, and I didn't read her question yet, but I asked JPM Lawn Care, she had 3 kids. What advice does she give her 3 sons about having a children? Here's her answer. JPM Lawn Care says, I tell them if they want kids to have them while they're young. That's interesting. Then you can have the best of both worlds after the children are grown. That's interesting. All right, I'm going to leave that at period, because that's I can hear that. It's Miss Kimberly. Let me hold some money, Mr. Six Figures, smiley face, and then the cash thing. Why ain't going to do that? I don't let anybody borrow money. I don't. I used to let people borrow money. I don't let anybody borrow money. I mean, but I respect the ask. Praise the Lord. Thank you for asking. John Maloney. I'm not sure that's correct, Gloria. I believe they're proposing it's good information. This is why good conversation. Good job, John. And Gloria, both good comments. John says, I am not sure that's correct, Gloria. I believe they're proposing a $10,000 limit on mortgage interest as a deduction. I heard that too. I think they're still debating it, and this is all part of negotiation. Part of negotiation is I asked for this, you asked for that, and Trump's good at that too. I give him a little credit. So he asked for more than one, and so did the Republicans, so did the Democrats. Everyone does this. Doesn't matter what party you're in. Obama did it when everybody does it. But this is in negotiation. But I did hear what John said. I don't know what's fact or not. But what I heard was, yes, they'll allow you to deduct up to $10,000 of your mortgage interest. Now, Google this, Philip. What does the average person pay in interest on their mortgage per year? And then let's go from there. So John's saying that, yeah, right now I think they'll allow you to, well, the way the bill is written now, they'll allow you to deduct up to $10,000 on your mortgage interest rate. So that's probably covers the average person. Philip's going to let us know what the average person pays in their mortgage interest rate. And that is Miss Kimberly, 3 laughs, and the computer. Lancaster, at Gloria Brown. The single standard deduction is $12,000 married. Filing jointly is $24,000. Mortgage interest is deductible up to $1 million. Well, that's a good statistical information there. Lancaster, good job. I didn't know that either. That's good job. Good job, Lancaster. JPM Lawn Care. Interest rates are so low right now, you aren't getting rich off a deduction on home loans. Yes, they are. I mean, that's the one thing too. Like, I had a hard time. I like bit the bullet a little bit selling my house because I had a 3.75 30-year fixed rate. I mean, that was probably, I know some people that got their rate as low as 3.25 when it was bottomed out. I know the Fed just raised the interest rates again, I think, yesterday because the economy keeps improving. So, they're going to just keep climbing up. When I first got my house, I think I paid 6.5% in 2003. And then when the rates got real low, I refinanced at 3.75. But that's all part of the debate. That's good information though. Lancaster says, add John Maloney. He's responding. The $10,000 is, the $10,000 is for the property tax. Okay, so you're allowed to deduct mortgage interest and you're also allowed to deduct property tax. So that's good also, Lancaster. Good job. I didn't know that. So the $10,000 is specifically related to the property tax from your understanding. Okay, good comment. Gloria. Oh, good to know. Yes, good information everybody's sharing. John Maloney. Okay, thanks for the correction. It's confusing. Yeah, and that's why I called it a debate on the live feed, but we're having a conversation. Nothing contention, all good sharing, and good information. And it's a never-ending search for truth, but I believe in good conversation is healthy for the mind, and it's enlightening. It challenges you a little bit. And, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. I just want to have a good conversation. Philip, here's good information. According to Forbes, millennials spend a little over $60,000 on renovations on their home. Wow. Individually on their homes in 2016. And the average interest rate on a mortgage now at the current is 4.125%. Wow. The average millennial spends a little over $60,000 on renovations on their homes. Wow, in 2016, I would see that. Like I said, when the housing market is good, Home Depot stock is good. Because, people spend a lot in renovations, man. I did a video. I would really love you guys to go on my playlist under Nomad Simple Life about renovations. I don't even remember the name of the video. In my opinion, skip the renovation. Keep a happy household, skip the renovation. Renovations are a never-ending process that all they do is cause fights in your house. And you spend more money. And they never stop. I renovated my house, it almost killed me. And I didn't even do I did renovation, but it wasn't like some people, they got it to the studs. And I remember because of that renovation, I would come home from work, I would spend all time renovating, spending money, and then I would be upset with my dog, or I wouldn't spend enough time with my dog. People would call me, I'd be short with them. Because you can only take so much. You can't work a full-time job and renovate your house, even if you don't do the work to hire contractors and everything. That's a huge mental tax on you. Too much renovation out there, in my opinion. Too much. But that's my opinion. Some people like to work with their hands, so it's just an opinion. Philip, be right back, everybody. No problem, brother. Take your time. Do what you want. Thank you. Lancaster, thumbs up. Yep, because Lancaster gives some good information. Lancaster, the hurricanes help Home Depot and Lowe's. Yeah. Yeah, anytime there's a natural disaster, people have to rebuild. Anytime home sales are good, when people buy a house, nobody really buys a house and keeps it exactly the way it is. The first thing people do when they buy a house is they're gonna repaint it. They're probably gonna change the toilet bowls, change the kitchen, etc., etc. Very few people buy and move right in. Very few. Is it wrong? No. If you work, you spend the money however you want. I'm just sharing. It's just interesting. So, yeah, I learned a lot, different comments, and I think, I think there's a lot to be said for just discussing an issue and for being mindful of it. I don't think any one political party is evil. I don't think any one person is evil. I think different people have different life experiences. I don't think social programs are the end-all be-all. I do think some social programs keep people in a poverty mindset. And I do think some social programs do teach enabling, and they don't incentivize people to work. But I think you have to counterbalance that with then you have to have certain, minimum wages. And now that we don't have people that work with the same company for 46 years in pension, what the hell are they supposed to do? Work for $10 an hour in Walmart? And, so, it's a counterbalance, but interesting. Lancaster, my biggest issue with Social Security is that the very wealthy get paid too. Yeah, that's an interesting comment, Lancaster. There was I remember under the Obama administration, they were debating about what they call means testing. That if you, and I think they already have it to a certain degree, like if you're a billionaire, there's some type of, if Philip's in the room, he can still Google it, means testing for Social Security, meaning if you make a certain amount of money, you only get there's a max amount you can get, and you don't, it's not like if you make $1 billion, you're going to get a certain amount of Social Security. There's a cap on how much you can get, and there was discussion at one time, like if you made over $250,000 a year, either you wouldn't get Social Security, etc., etc. But just remember, when we talk about social programs, if you research it, the highest costing social program is Medicare, health care, period. Health care costs are the main problem with society today. And I believe you have to address them in a couple ways. One is, I think you have to address it with the food people eat. Because there's no way you could have a healthy society and you got a Chick-fil-A popping up on every corner. There's no way. So, you got to regulate the fast food places. And in my opinion, that's what I would do. Because people can't help themselves. And does that mean you have no fast food places? No, I still think you should have some fast food, but I think you have to be really conscious of what we feed society. And Social Security is very much a smaller pot versus healthcare. Healthcare costs are up here. Social Security is like down here. So really, the main thing to address is healthcare, and that's why what they do. I mean, that's why it took Obama so long to get anything passed on healthcare. And it wasn't 100% legit as far as like really solving the problem. It just like started to address it a little bit. And premiums still went up because of the core problems with prescription drugs, with regulations of big pharmas. They weren't really addressed. And that's why too, like now you have a new Republican president, you have a new Republican Senate or whatever it is, and they have the majority. They couldn't pass healthcare. Why? Because that's the hardest issue. The hardest issue is not really Social Security, it's healthcare. And no one has a real clear-cut answer. My answer? Cigarettes are illegal to sell or use. Fast food gets regulated. And maybe even some regulation around alcohol. Those are the three biggest contributors to preventive health costs. But nobody wants to talk about that. So, back to the issue. Gloria Brown. Keeping a house up to code is enough. Well, I agree with that. Big renovations are a waste of time and money. They are, but I have to be fair too that I got caught in that cycle. I bought a house. I wanted it all certain paint color. I wanted all new furniture. And I went in debt to get it. I wanted a sectional leather couch. I wanted a big screen TV. And I don't even know if you would have told me I was doing the wrong thing if I would have listened. I probably wouldn't have. So I want to be fair too, and some of the accountability. John Maloney, I'm going to get back to all the comments. John Maloney, he said, I don't know if I can survive without Chick-fil-A. I lost a vote for president. It's good to laugh. God bless you, brother. I love John. But what was I saying? It's good to laugh. You got to laugh a little bit. Damn, what was I saying? I'll get back to the other comments. I lost my train of thought. That was a good comment, John. And it's Miss Kimberly says, and sugar. Yes. You're right. And sugar. It's not just fat. It's mainly not fat. Sugar is really look at the grams of sugar on the food label. That is one of the most harmful things to your health. Not really the fat or calories to some extent. It's really the amount of added sugar. The average male should not have more than 38 grams of sugar per day. The average female should not have more than 25 grams per sugar no more than 25 grams of sugar per day. So look on the back of the food labels, look how many servings are in that package, then ask yourself, are you going to eat that whole package? Probably. So you better count for the amount of sugar that's in that package. You understand what I'm saying? And I failed there too. So I failed when it went to home renovations. I went in debt and I paid for it. It took me years and years to climb out of it. And I failed when it came to my health. I mean, I really got in a bad cycle. I let myself go. So what's my conclusion? That some things are only by the grace of God. So sometimes I get fired up. You guys see me get fired up. But also, I got to humble myself and say, you know what? If it wasn't for the grace of God and, some things getting forgiven in my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I can't be too prideful. That's like sometimes like I see Governor Christie or whoever, like they get real like, those guys are real good with certain things, but obviously that guy struggles with the amount of food he eats. So should we judge him for that? No. But when you fail in a certain area, you may be great with your finances, but you may fail with food. You may be great with food, but you may fail in your finances. You may be great with your finances and food, but you may fail in relationships. We all fail, period. And so that needs to teach us compassion and humility. Does it mean we'll all get along? No. I block a lot of people, and I block anybody at any time if they get crazy. But I don't want, even if I block somebody, I don't want to take their Social Security away from them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll block somebody, but I still want them to have Social Security. That's what I'm saying. JPM Loan Care. Gloria Brown, you're so right about that, for sure. Yes, Gloria said, easy on those renovations. I agree. You don't need most of the renovations. Gloria, every time I think about going to a fast food place, I just put $10 in my piggy bank. Well, I give you credit. It's not easy to say no to food, but some people are stronger than others. So good job, Gloria, especially as you get older. Damn, I was just talking to my mom today. I mean, I feel bad. I got to get back to see her. She really wishes she was in Florida, but she's living with my sister. I don't know. I don't know if I can get them both down here. I got to get down here myself first, and then I have to see maybe I get a home base so she can come. But she just, I love my mom, and I understand. She taught me a lot, and without my mom, I wouldn't be where I'm at. I want to be very clear about that. So that's the other thing too. I was blessed with a good mother, and even my father, he helped me get in the union. I mean, so, some people aren't blessed with that good support system, and so I want to be honest about that. So the other part is, my mom ate DiGiorno pizza again tonight, and so she knows she's not supposed to eat it. She's, fighting diabetes, but she can't help herself. It's not easy, and so we have to remember that too. There's certain parts of society that they're not evil; they just can't help themselves. Some people are stronger than others. It's not easy a thing. John Maloney. Oh, that's what he said. I don't know if I can survive without Chick-fil-A. That was a good comment. Russell Contractor, what's up? Oh, yeah, Russell. That's another good comment. Russell says, I like big renovations. I can't be mad at Russell. Obviously, his name is Russell Contractor, so that brother has a contracting business. And I can't be mad at him either because I had after I got electrical union, I have my own electrical contracting business. So like, I don't know how much I would be saying, like, I don't like renovations if I was still doing electrical contractors. That's a fair point. And, that's a great comment, too, because you know what, too? Sometimes I get humble and say, you know what? Everyone has a different way of living life. If everyone lived out of their car, the world wouldn't turn. If no one did home renovations, the world wouldn't turn. And that's the other thing about consumerism and about, buying houses. And that's why governments give tax deductions for interest rates and for property taxes, because that helps the economy turn. That gives contractors work, that gives Home Depot work, and Home Depot employs people. So we can't say that everything is evil. A level of consumerism is actually good. I mean, if everyone just saved their money and no one spent, the world wouldn't turn. So I get humbled when I think about that too. There's no one answer. There's better and there's healthy conversation, but there is no one answer. No one has all the answers. No one. Good comment, Russell. Good perspective. See, everyone has a voice. Everyone needs to add their voice to the conversation or else you forget. Milano. 15 years ago, $1,000 Social Security was okay. Now, $1,000, you cannot pay your bills. Devaluation of dollar. That's a great point, too. That's a good point, Milano. Inflation and wages has not gone up in the same trajectory. Okay, so wages have stayed stagnant and the value of the dollar versus inflation, etc. So that's true. $1,000 won't get you as far, and the average household income has not gone up in proportion to that inflation. And so, that's that's an issue. I agree. That's a good point. It's Miss Kimberly. Everyone has their own kryptonite. That's right. It's Miss Kimberly. And sometimes I forget, and I got to get, the Lord says, Sam, don't forget. So that's why you need your mind, body, and soul. If you just had knowledge, you would never be compassionate. You need compassion. You need to remember when you failed. Not so you can feel sorry for yourself or feel sorry for other people, but just so you can have a level of humility and compassion. We all have our weaknesses. That's true. And some people have more weaknesses than others. That's true too. Sailing John, everything's relative. And that's true. Sailing John says everything's relative. That's right. I mean, I could go buy a $10,000, I could go live for free in the desert. But not going to have any Starbucks. Not going to have a Planet Fitness. I'm going to be showering next to Bob Wells. I don't want to do that. Okay. No disrespect to Bob Wells. He taught us a lot. But you know what I'm saying. Or, who's the other guy? Van Dwell and Brandon, God forbid. All right. We don't want that. I don't want to be freezing in Detroit in a parking lot with Walmart. He made a video that says, like, you can't live in Walmart. Bro, I know we couldn't live in Walmart. Not good. Lancaster. Mine is nicotine. Well, I smoked cigarettes for years. Worse than heroin. That's right. That's right, brother. Good comment, Lancaster. I smoked cigarettes from the age of 12 to the age of 25, approximately. Okay, I really got into it around 15. Cigarettes are tobacco-related diseases are the number one cause of preventable deaths. How they're still legal? Complete sin. Complete sin. Money. There's no way they should be legal. When I drove from New Jersey down to Florida here, I passed, I think that's in Virginia or North Carolina, I think Virginia, where Marlboro has a lot, the Philip Morris, they have their headquarters, killed a lot of people. A lot of people. And they knew they were addictive. And they do kill more people than heroin. I remember going to see my sister in a rehab for heroin, and somebody stood up and said, I could quit heroin, but I can't quit cigarettes. It's harder to beat. And I was smoking cigarettes at the time. I said, oh shit, this is what I'm up against? And only by the grace of God I was able to defeat cigarettes. That's a good comment. Russell Contracting. I was a union electrician. Okay, so we got something in common too. Also, now residential remodel contractor. Amen. Me, you, and John Maloney all have that in common. That's a blessing. Thank you, Russell. JPM Lawn Care. I tell my boys all the time, a good man loves his mother. Amen. I mean, you're blessed to have a good mother. Some mothers are no good, but if you have a good mother, it's a blessing from the Lord. It is. I agree with that, JPM. It melts my heart when I hear you speak so kindly of your mother. Thank you. And thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Trucy, what's going on, brother? Save yourself, stack real wealth, dump dollars, hold gold. Well, I'm not a gold guy. I know a lot of gold guys. They call for Armageddon. They got gold, they got canned goods, and they got a lot of guns. I know a lot of guys like that. I don't do that. I'm not against that, though. And you can't, but that's what makes the world go around. That's what makes the world go around. So, I just say in general, live below your means. That's what I say in general. The rest of the things, if you want to buy gold, I'm not against that. If you want to buy stocks, I'm not against that. If you want to buy contract and stuff for renovations, I'm not against that. I just say in general, what I can say that I think is a general principle is just live below your means. Even if you consume, whatever, live below your means, okay? That's wisdom. John Maloney, good night all. I've enjoyed listening to you all. John, thank you for adding your voice to the conversation. You've been a blessing to me. I love you, brother. I appreciate you. Go in peace, brother. Thank you. I'll see you soon. It's Miss Kimberly. Nicotine is worse than heroin, ? It is. A lot of people I know testified to that. If you Google it, I think it's more addictive too. It's Miss Kimberly. Triple desert emoji. It's Miss Kimberly. Triple RV. Yeah, I got a little bit at the van. Okay, thank you. Thank you, it's Miss Kimberly. Gloria, I can't afford bad habits or addictions. Well, you're blessed not to get caught in them. If you can avoid... There was a game, a couple street guys that I was around. There used to be a game with them called Bad Habit. Okay? This is like my first introduction to tough love. Okay? So my sister's friends, they were older, I was younger. And they used to have a game called Bad Habit. Okay? So that means if you they pick something, like if you curse or you do something. I don't know, everybody was smoking weed, drinking, everybody was doing crazy shit. But for some reason, they had this game, like if you cursed or if you did something that night that was considered a bad habit, you get punched in the gut. So I don't know what the fuck I was, 12 years old. And this is a good guy. I love this guy. But a good guy that was one of my sister's friends. I don't know what I did. I cursed. I did something that was considered for that night a bad habit. And I turned around, and this guy was like, it was like whatever he was, like almost like 8 years older than me. He was like almost a grown young man. And I was like a little kid, and he punched me dead in my gut, and he knocked the wind out of me. And if you never got the wind knocked out of you, you know, you don't know like what fighting for breath is. That was like the first time in my life I ever got the wind knocked out of me, and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't catch my breath, like, you know, and so when you say bad habit, I remember that because that like kind of was the purpose of the game. It didn't have a purpose. Everybody was drunk, but the purpose of the game was bad habits are no good. Okay, and you don't want the wind knocked out of you. Alcohol too! Exclamation mark. Too many drunk drivers. Well, I agree with that. 3 top causes of preventable deaths: tobacco is number 1, obesity-related diseases number 2, alcohol is number 3. I agree with that. But actually, too, on drunk driving, it's actually shown that driving tired is worse than driving drunk. Think about that. I think about that often in my nomad life. That's why I always monitor my time. Driving tired has worse impairment on your mental mind in conjunction versus being drunk to a certain extent. I mean, obviously, you could be so drunk, doesn't matter. But you got to be careful when you drive tired. That could be just as dangerous. Gloria's addictions, spell check fail. No worry. I got what you say. Thank you, Gloria. It's Miss Kimberly. True! Exclamation mark. Yeah, driving tired. You got to be very careful. Gloria, cheaper and more fun to stay healthy. It is, but it's hard to get there. Once you get there, then it's just sustaining. It's not that bad, but it's hard to get there. And she also said, my midnight skiing was awesome. Amen. Milano, what about driving and texting? That's true. That's also dangerous. Good comment, Milano. I think we're all guilty of that sometimes, so we got to be careful. That's a good comment. Excellent comments. Well, guys, I learned a lot tonight, and I really do thank you guys, man. I'm blessed to connect with you guys and have some type of a self-expression outlet, but also positive, informative voices coming back at me. I don't have all the answers. I'm not right all 100%. But I really appreciate it tonight, and I appreciate every night, and I thank you. It's Miss Kimberly said, do you go to Walmart once a day for food? I go to a supermarket once a day for food. I don't keep anything really other than bananas and health bars in my car. The only, every night I either go to, like I'm in Florida, so I go to Publix. But like when I'm in the New Jersey area, I'll go to like Acme or Stop and Shop, the supermarket over there. But I'll go to Walmart too if it's closer, because they have the same thing. What I usually get is some type of like prepackaged salad. I get a tofu, some type of tofu thing to put in there, and I get red Goya beans, low sodium, and a couple pieces of bread, and a Diet Coke, and that's it. So yeah, but I'll get that from Walmart or any type of supermarket. Yep, once a day, once every night I go, and that helps me structure my day. Like I said, I wake up by 5, 6 a.m. max. I go for a morning walk, I have my Starbucks, I do some work things, I do some personal things, I go for another walk, I explore, I do a little traveling, and then at night, you know, I have my routine, I go get something to eat, I go live, and then, you know, I go to bed. So I keep a structured routine. Time management is huge. I don't just like let the day like kind of slosh. You know, I have flexibility, but I like to structure my day to a certain level. Great chat, guys. Thank you, everyone. Love and respect. Milano says, I'm going to Walmart. See you later, Sammy. God bless you. I may see you in Walmart. I'm close to you. I'm close to Miami. So, God bless you. Thank you, everyone. I love you. I appreciate you. Sincerely mean that. Go in peace, and I pray you have a peaceful night. All right? Stay inspired. Peace and love.